All right, so you're back with Bryant, the Apex Gaming Channel, bringing you a different video. This video is to talk about the current state of MMA, the changes that have been going on with the UFC and roster and things of that nature. So to start this video off, I want to start off with the first topic at hand. I know there's been a lot of reports going out today saying that Khabib turned down a fight for $15 million, a rematch with Conor McGregor. His coach has come out since and said that that's not true and that those rumors circulating about fight being in discussion are not true. There's a big article on it on pretty much every MMA covered site. I just want to put that out there, just to let you know right off the rip. Good. If Khabib said no to rematch with Conor McGregor, good. Thank goodness. Look, Khabib, you don't have to like him. You don't have to like his style. He is a true martial artist, and he's taking the prize out of fighter. He don't care if the money is good, if the money is great. He just wants to be the best and showcase his skill set and dominate and do what he does. And that's the heart and spirit of martial arts. To perfect yourself, perfect your body, and all that other stuff is secondary. So that I respect him for that. And I also respect him for not wanting to give Conor a rematch, because what merit does Conor hold to a rematch? He was the champion for a night, never defended the title, reigned in boxing. You know, he was, as a champion in MMA, he was the boxing fighter. He never fought as a champion. And when he fought to try to regain the title. It wasn't a unification. I mean, I guess in spirit it was a unification bout, but it wasn't really a unification bout. I mean, contrary to popular belief, Tony Ferguson and Khabib Nurmagomedov were never the champions. When Conor had the belt, he was the last champion to beat the current champion to get the title. Eddie beat RDA, Conor beat Eddie. That's the natural progression of the belt. There was no finagling. There was no fighting unranked guys of different styles. There was none of that. No matter what you say, there was none of that. Tony Ferguson fought Kevin Lee basically on short notice and won the title. Kevin Lee at the time was in the top 5, but not in the top 3. So how do you fight a guy who's not even top 3 for the title? That does not make sense. It's not a title. It's not a real belt. It was just there to be there. No disrespect to Tony. No disrespect to his accomplishment. But if you talk about the lineage of a title and the people that passed through, he didn't get it from the guy who had it first. He didn't get it from the guy who got it from the guy. He didn't get it from the guy. He didn't get it from it wasn't the process. He got it. It was like a gifted belt, kind of like when Ronda first came to the UFC. It was a gifted belt. She didn't get it from the last bantamweight champion, or there wasn't a last bantamweight champion in the case for Ronda, because she came over to the UFC as the bantamweight champion. So she didn't have a way to get it from another person. But he earned it from a fighter that wasn't the current champion, which, if you ask anybody, that doesn't make you the champion. You didn't get it from the champion. You got it from somebody else. And that's not always, represented correctly, because this sport tends to do interim titles kind of regularly. They tend to just make up fights whenever they don't have anything else to do, when they don't have another main event. They just kind of make up fights, just throw some stuff out there. It just kind of happens. That's kind of what they do. But same thing for Khabib. He should have fought Tony Ferguson, if he would have won that fight, he would have beat the guy who had the current belt. So it would have been a little different, but it wasn't the case. It didn't come through. He ended up fighting Ali Quinta, who was a wrestler who can strike, who was able to mix it up and survive for 5 rounds. Conor did different. He did better than Conor. Yeah, he fought 5 rounds against Khabib, never was put in a situation where he didn't have some form of retaliation, was never caught off guard, never put in any bad positions, never hurt by anything. So he did fight a different fight. He fought a different fight than Conor. He fought a better fight than Conor. He had a better game plan. He had a better skill set to fight that fight, and a better mentality to fight that fight. So, but anyway, the point is, neither one of those guys earned the title from the champion or from the lineage of the title. So they weren't champions when Conor's absent. Now, if he dropped the belt, it kind of opens it up. It opens up the queue, but that wasn't what happened. What happened was Tony got a belt, hurt himself. They took the belt. Then Khabib got a belt because Tony hurt himself. And it's like the proper lineage wasn't passed through to get them to the title. So Khabib beating Conor McGregor was him legitimately solidifying the title in his lineage. He beat the current champion, or the most recent champion who earned the belt from the champion before him, and he took the title from that guy. So if you look at it, it wasn't his first title defense. It was his actual inaugural title fight. But it's going to go down the books as a title defense because he was gifted a belt under unforeseen circumstances, of course. No disrespect to the process, but Conor has no merit to a new title. A rematch of any sort. No merit. None. This whole champions have earned their right. They earned a rematch because they were the champion. If you walk over to your previous job and ask for a paycheck, do they give you one? Because you don't work there anymore, but you've worked there in the past. Do you get a new check? You don't. It's not how it works. Do you walk over to your ex-girlfriend's house and say, hey, I want to have some sex right now. So I've had it before with you. I've been there before. You just got to give it up, right? That's not how it works. It's not how life works. And that's how they treat it for the champions. Like, well, I did this, I did that. Yeah, you did. And then I came in and stopped you. And you didn't do that again. I didn't agree when Johanna got a rematch. I didn't agree when Anderson got a rematch. I didn't agree when BJ Penn got a rematch. I didn't agree when Frankie Edgar got a rematch, and that was a split decision. Once you're the champion, you lose the title. You lost the title. Let the champion move forward. Let the belt move forward. Let the division move forward. You fight. If you were number one, fight the number 3 guy. Let the number 2 guy fight the champion. And if he's still the champion after you beat the number 3 guy, the number, whatever numbers I gave out, if he's still the champion, you fight him again. You fought a fight, he fought a fight. Title fight. Run it. But that whole I deserve this because I did this thing in the past, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It's favorable for the previous champion because they get to get back in there, get the run back. Who cares if it's a fluke? If you win, you now beat the guy who beat you. So what happens? Does that guy not get a rematch? Because he beat you to get the belt. So doesn't he deserve it? Because he beat you. You did all these fancy things. Like you were the greatest heavyweight in heavyweight history, according to Stipe, and according to the record, because he defended the title more times than anybody else. So if DC beat him, he did something truly impressive. He beat the best heavyweight champion that the UFC's ever had. So when he loses, if say he fought him again and loses, well, he just lost to the best heavyweight champion that the UFC's ever had. Does that not merit him a title rematch? Because he won the title from that person. You see what I'm saying? It's like, it's a slippery slope. And all these champions, I know the money's different, the pay is different, and that part I can't speak to. That part I can't help. I wish the money wasn't different. I wish when a champion was a champion, he's always paid like a champion. Because you still have the name, you still have the strength of the strength of your name. It still holds weight as far as like competitive skill, like how good you are still holds true because your name is Stipe Miocic. Anybody you fight, they have to fight the great, legendary Stipe Miocic. Your pay should not change when you're not the champion anymore. You've already earned that right. You've already paid your dues. It's like getting a job, getting a raise, getting a promotion, having a sick day, and then you come back to work and you're demoted, and now you get paid less. And it's like, it doesn't make sense. It's silly. The pay part should never change. But I digress. The point is, these immediate rematches, these champion rematches, this shit's got to stop. It's got to stop. It's silly. It's overblown. It's silly. It doesn't happen in other leagues. You don't see it in ONE. You don't see it in Dream. You don't see it in Bellator. You don't see it everywhere else. It doesn't happen like that. When a champion loses, he loses. The next person fights the title. Michael Chandler lost his title because he tore a muscle in his leg and couldn't continue, and still had to fight a fight before he fought for the title again. It's just how it works. It should be how it works. The champion does what they do. They get the title. They move forward. Now, if Khabib fights anybody, and it has to be some big, extravagant fight. If he doesn't just fight Tony Ferguson, like I wish he just fights Tony Ferguson, but if it has to be some big, extravagant thing, it should be the matchup we see on screen right now. The matchup that I put on the video for this purpose. It should be, if Tyron Woodley wants to fight, a big fight, let Khabib move up to 70 to fight Tyron Woodley for his belt. Khabib don't have to cut. Woodley gets a big title fight against a big name who's got a lot of attention on him, a lot of eyes on him. It's the perfect time for it. So if you got to do anything, do this one. Or let the winner of the Max Holloway, I don't want to hold up that division either, but let the winner of the Max Holloway Brian Ortega fight move up to fight Khabib if it has to be this big, extravagant thing. I don't agree that it has to be this thing. But if it does, that's the matchups that make the most sense for Khabib, not Conor. Conor should have to fight somebody else. Really and truthfully, I wish that we can get Conor McGregor as a contender, as an up-and-comer, working his way through the ranks, fighting different styles, different bodies, doing different things. I wish we can get that because we didn't really get that in his rise. We got 4, maybe 5 fights of him fighting undercard fighters. Then he fought what was an elite fighter but fought him on short notice. Beat him, looked good doing it. Then he fought what was said to be the greatest featherweight to ever fight at 145 pounds in 145-pound history, and rolled him in 16 seconds, and then didn't fight at the weight again. Was supposed to fight for the 55 title against a really tough competitor who we didn't get to see that fight. I mean, he's kind of, him as a person, him as a personality, we have different opinions, but him as a competitor, at the time, he was pretty dangerous. I mean, until he fought Tony Ferguson and then Kobe Covington, who both gave him the business. But before that, he was looking like a stud. And that there's no denying that he was looking like a G. He was looking like a stud. He was beating these guys handily. He was working these dudes out, making them look bad. He was just doing them in. So, I mean, it would have been nice to see Conor versus him. I mean, if history tells a tale, Conor might not have had such a good night. It might have been a rough night for him that night, because if you use what you know about him now versus what you knew about him then, he might have had a rough night. It might have rolled the Conor McGregor train down the wrong hill, you know what I'm saying? But instead, he ended up fighting Nate Diaz, lost that one handily, and then ended up getting the rematch just because he said so. Got the rematch. It didn't matter. It was like the people's fight, it was like the people's champion belt. They were fighting for nothing, basically, fighting for shekels. They were fighting just to prove that I'm better than you at mixed martial arts. No, I'm better than you at mixed martial arts. Like, it had no significance. It was just two dudes fighting for fighting's sake. So it didn't occupy a division. It didn't tie anything up. So it wasn't like a problem. It was dumb because he lost decisively. It was dumb that he lost decisively, but it held up his division at the time, which was the championship division, and it held up 55 because he was, basically trying to contest for the 55 title. I mean, they still moved on some fights. They let RDA fight Eddie, and that didn't go so good for RDA, and you know what I'm saying? So, like, the rematch thing, like, when you lose, you feel salty, you want a rematch. It's I understand, but you kind of have to earn your way back to those guys. It's how it used to be, and I just wish it was still like that. And I don't, like I was saying a second ago, I wish we can get Conor McGregor again working his way up the ranks. Maybe at lightweight, maybe at 70. Who cares? Like, it'd be nice to see Conor McGregor versus, who's the name that's under on the card? Anthony Pettis. Conor McGregor versus Anthony Pettis. He wins that. Conor McGregor versus Edson Barbosa. He wins that. Whatever happens, the next fight, Conor McGregor versus, who's right outside of the title picture at 55? Anybody, you know what I'm saying? Like, just that rise. Like, it'd be nice to get to see his skill set work its way up instead of just trying to be this big boisterous personality, and then you don't even get to see his skill set on the night because he's not able to deliver because he doesn't fight enough. He doesn't fight enough competition. He's not pushed enough. It's, he's pushed as far as press goes, but you don't get to see him display the art that he perfected because it's grown to this level where it's just this personality at this point. And it's like, you expect him to come out and perform, but you don't know what you're going to get actually in there. You don't know what you're going to get competitively. And look at that, Khabib finishing by submission. Come on, man. I mean, hey, whatever. If Khabib would have beat Tyron Woodley by decision, I don't think I disagree too much. But and look, I mean, these guys don't have that long in their career, so it'd be nice to see Conor down the card fighting some people, just for fighting's sake, just for the love of fighting, not for the love of this big event. It has to be this monumentous thing because obviously he can win a lot of fights against a lot of people, but there's certain styles that just best him, and it's not doing anybody any favors to watch those fights over and over. For the people who want to see him lose and want to see him fail, I don't understand that. I don't understand why anybody wants to just see somebody fail. I mean, I don't like John Jones. I don't like his fighting. I don't like him as a person, but I don't want to see him fail. I don't care enough to hate him, enough to want him to see him get in a wreck and injure a pregnant woman and have to go through all of that or get popped for drugs. Like, I don't want to see that. I don't care about him enough to want to see him doing so bad that he just, is at a low point in his life. I don't have that type of hate for somebody, but there are people out there who hate these fighters, who hate these people so much they just want to see something truly devastating happen to them. And it's ridiculous. It's silly. Like, who wishes that on their? You wouldn't wish that on your worst enemy. But some people out there, they're just, very heinous in that sense. So I would like to see more of them in a different division, maybe fighting up and down the card again, just fighting to fighting for fighting's sake and not for all this big boisterous event. Just strip down everything, strip it down to the bare minimum and just let him get out there and fight. Let's run this next fight. I set it up so we can see the Max Holloway versus Khabib 2 as well. I wanted to see both. So I put the Tyron Woodley one up there, just to see how the AI fought each other. You know, Tyron Woodley versus Khabib. Khabib dominated, submitted him. As you can imagine, you know, it is what it is. Khabib does what Khabib did, and he did it all over him. I don't agree that would happen in real life. I mean, that would be an interesting fight. I would love to do a prediction based, a more analytic prediction if that fight were to ever, you know, come to fruition. No. I hate getting calls when I'm trying to do stuff in my house. Like, no. Don't call me in the middle of the day. I'm doing stuff. I got a life, man. I do stuff. It doesn't seem like it, but I do stuff. Anyway, another point, another topic we want to talk about. Eddie Alvarez just signed a big deal with ONE FC, and he's moving away from the UFC. Going to fight over at ONE FC. I think it's in South Korea. It sucks. If you're an Eddie Alvarez fan, it sucks because you won't get to see him against fighters that you know, names that you recognize. But hell, go out there, Eddie, get that money and get that other title. You've gotten a title in every major organization you've ever been in. Get that belt. Go ahead and get that belt over there at ONE FC. That way you can always say that you're the most winning, most championed, most decorated fighter in lightweight history, because he's already that. He's already won the title in every major organization he's been in. I don't think he was in Strikeforce, but he was in Bellator. He got that belt. He was in Dream. He got that belt. He was in the UFC. He got that belt. Just keep the trend going. Get that next belt. Move your legacy forward in that way, and I respect you for making the decision to move. It sucks because it makes it real hard for fans of you to watch your fights, especially American fans, because the fights are so early in the morning, and you're fighting names that I don't recognize, names I don't know. Even if you do fight a guy I know, he's probably not up the card like you would be fighting in the UFC. You won't be fighting the Justin Gaethjes of the world. You'll be fighting, you know, the Darren Cruikshanks, you know, not a championship level fighter on the UFC champion level, but whatever that means, whatever that means anymore, because we've seen some very terrible championship fights. Hell, the Conor McGregor Khabib Nurmagomedov fight was a horrible championship fight. Like, at no point in that fight did Conor look like a former champion or a champion in anything. He looked horrible. Never got his footing. Never looked like himself. Didn't do anything progressive, you know, so was championship level. But anyway, Darren Cruikshank is a much different task than you fighting Conor in a rematch. That would have been interesting. I would have liked to see it. I would have liked to see Eddie versus Khabib. That would have been interesting. Hell, run it back with RDA. That would have been interesting. Hell, run it with Iaquinta. That would have been interesting. You know, but whatever. Get your money, get your belt, and get your legacy. It's your career, and you gotta do what's best for your career. And I respect that. But I think that's, you know, pretty much all that's gone on in MMA recently. Obviously, the Daniel Cormier Derek Lewis fight is booked. A lot of people have mixed feelings about it because people wanted to see the Stipe rematch. I don't know why you'd really want to see the rematch of a guy who got finished in the first round. It doesn't make sense. I talked about that at length at the beginning. It's not like it was competitive. It's not like it went to a draw or split decision. He got knocked out from the clinch with a punch. On the ground, flat as a board, legs stiff as hell, sleeping, dreaming about his baby and his wife. Like, he was gone. He was unconscious, dead body, done deal. Why a rematch with a dead body? I don't understand. I don't think people go to the graveyard and fight their enemies. It's just not how it works. But he wanted the rematch. He's complaining and talking about it. He always feels like he's the underdog, like he's being mistreated. And he might be to some degree. He might be getting paid less than he should. He might be, you know, not getting promoted the way he should. There's a lot of things on the back end that probably contribute to the way he feels. But from a fan's perspective, just looking in, he doesn't talk a lot. I don't see him a lot. When I do see him, he's usually complaining. It doesn't bode well with fans if all they hear is their idol complaining, feeling jaded, feeling like the underdog, even when you're the big dog. Talk like the big dog, act like the big dog. It works wonders. Look at Conor. Even when he wasn't the big dog, he talked like the big dog. He acted like the big dog. At one point, he was injured and wasn't fighting, and people were laughing at him, saying, "This guy's a joker. He's a clown. He's talking. He don't know what he's talking about. He's a joke. This guy's stupid. He's silly." He was talking all this stuff about all these fighters, and eventually he came out of injury, beat some of the guys he talked about, and got to the belt, and then got to another belt. Just look at it. He said what he wanted to do. He was boisterous about it, and he just, had it. I don't know. It's not like I can't say he had personality. He just had a way about him. And Stipe has a way about him. He just doesn't often show it, and that's why people think he's boring. He's not boring. He's an entertaining guy. He's a normal dude. He's cool. He's a firefighter. He's a respectable young man. He's a respectable adult. Just make yourself more visible. That's it. Make yourself more visible. And if they're not making you visible, be a dick about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, when they booked that fight with Derek Lewis, he should be like, Y'all only booked that fight because y'all don't want to see me take that belt back. Y'all know that belt is mine. Like, I'm the champ. Screw all that. I got knocked out cold, flat. My toes are stiff, but I'm still the champ. I mean, be like Shannon Briggs. Let's go, champ. Just push that, put it out there, because complaining and belly aching, that does the opposite. But Derek Lewis versus Daniel Cormier, whatever. Daniel Cormier say his hand ain't all the way healed. Derek Lewis, didn't say, he said his cardio wasn't good enough for a championship fight. I guess we gonna find out. It's not the fight we wanted, but it's the fight we gonna get. It's not the fight you was egging to see, but it's one we gonna get. I mean, we still waiting for Ngannou to fight against Curtis Blaydes to see if he got his mojo back. Because he might never be the same after going to war with Stipe the way he did, and his power being proven to not be infallible. I mean, it affects people's ego whenever they realize that they're not what they thought they were. It really affects their ego. It did it to him. It did it to Conor. It affects their ego. No matter what anybody says, like, they can still talk big games, talk about how they can do this, can do that, but whenever they go to do this and go to do that and it doesn't happen, trust me, they don't go home going, just a rough night. They go home thinking, maybe my power ain't what I thought it was. Maybe I don't hit as hard as I thought I did. Maybe my aim ain't as good as I thought it was. Like, it gets in their head. Don't worry, it gets in their head. So, that happened to him, and he's a little shaken by it. And I kind of knew it was going to happen. I knew Stipe was going to give him a good hard test. I didn't know it was going to be that bad, but he had some moments where he looked good. He had some moments where he looked horrible, and it affected him, and it made him put on that terrible performance with Derek Lewis. So Derek Lewis is in the position he's in now, and realistically speaking, on the mats, Derek Lewis could KO DC. He can knock him out standing. He can knock him out on the ground. He ain't gonna outlast him. He ain't gonna outgrind him, but he can knock him out. So, talk down on that fight all you want. It can go very south for Daniel Cormier. Don't worry. It can go south, like Louisiana, like Lafayette, like our home state. Derek Lewis, born in New Orleans, lived in New Orleans, moved to Houston. He just, he's Houston now, but he was, from New Orleans. Daniel Cormier from Lafayette is going south. That fight would have been a great one for New Orleans. Like, to do that one in New Orleans, that would have been a great fight for New Orleans. But, we don't get that. But I digress. Catch you on the next one. Catch you on the Flippity Flop. Hope you enjoy my video about all this MMA madness that's going on in the world. The normal MMA grind, the world that's always adapting and changing and getting more and more complex and confusing every single day. And it's becoming more about the shenanigans and less about the fighting every single day. And I don't agree that that's the way it should be, but that's just kind of how it is. I guess boxing hit that point too, where it was more about the popularity and more about the shenanigans and less about the boxing. But I guess it's just a growing pain of the sport. Until next time, I'm Bryant, the Apex Gamer Channel. Hope you enjoyed this little MMA news update. Peace. Oh, just so you know, I've been doing these. Don't make me post my news videos as my end screen, because I've been doing these. Get it right.